Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wali Wonders. We're here at Sophist Productions with a great and amazing podcast with Anila Shehzad, who is a geopolitical analyst and a writer. And she's been here before with us many times. And today we're going to discuss a few different topics. And the most important thing that is happening these days is that the world order seems to be shifting because Donald Trump is in office now, and there were almost 100 executive orders recently that Trump signed, and he's going for big changes, and the war in Gaza has stopped. It seems that the Palestinian people have won this battle, and there's something going also on with the Russia-Ukraine issue. So there are many things that are happening these days, and we'd like to discuss those. But first, could you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. So, just like you said, I am Anila Shehzad. I'm an author. I'm also a columnist. And this my recent book that has been launched by the title Geopolitics, Framework and Dynamics in a Multipolar World. This, I think, my book is, in my view, is going to be a groundbreaking book because it is opening up the subject of geopolitics for us living in the East, living in our region, living in our countries in the East, and it's giving the viewpoint or the world view that we see from our side versus all the literature that has been popular up till now, all of it which came from the West, and all of which showed us the world from the lens of the West. So I would urge everybody to find the book and to read it, and especially for students of political science, foreign affairs, and students of geopolitics, it's going to be a stepping stone.
So, Anila, where can we find this book?
It's already on Amazon, and the hard copies are also there in the market now, and you'll find it in most of the big stores in a few days.
Inshallah, that's a very good news, and we'll put the link of the book down below in a description for the viewers to see. So yes, that was very amazing. We hope that all of you can read the book and find it informative, and inshallah. So coming to our podcast and our topic, Trump has been inaugurated and Trump's in office, and we see a lot of changes. Firstly, I would like to discuss about the Gaza-Palestine situation, because that is the most interesting one. The war had been going on for such a long time, and the Biden administration seemed complicit in that war. Some people are saying that the Biden administration, especially Joe Biden, should be tried for war crimes, because we heard a few times that Biden was not happy with Netanyahu, and he had a few angry phone calls with Netanyahu to stop the war. But still, they might have been giving the money and the weapons while also saying that stop the war. Now, as soon as Trump landed, there's this interesting thing that the war just stopped. It seemed like an impossible thing because the war was going on for such a long time, and almost 2 years. And Trump said that he would break hell on both sides, the Israeli side and the Palestinian side.
Especially on the Gaza.
If they didn't stop the war and come to negotiation. But actually, if I would also like to discuss this, that even though the Palestinian people faced a lot of casualties, and there was the whole of Gaza is flattened. So even though that all of Gaza has been destroyed, and there has been a lot of loss of life, do you think that the people of Gaza have won this war?
Well, it's a really difficult question, and it's going to be like not possible to answer this thing right now, whether if the people of Gaza or the people of Palestine have won this war or not, because time is going to tell us what the real consequences have been. But you are right that Biden and his administration were hell bent on just letting the war creep for a longer period, and there was all over the Middle East there was this fear that this war is going to spill out, and there was talk that maybe Netanyahu is planning to take over the Suez Canal and have a new war started with Egypt, or like the way they had swept all through in Syria, like they had since the ousting of Bashar al-Assad. Israel had bombed each and every military base, each and every naval base, and even all the government institutions, buildings had been bombed by Israel, and nobody was there to stop them because Bashar al-Assad was not there. There was no government, and who was governing or who was controlling Syria at the time? Those same HTS was actually an umbrella group that had harbored all the Al Qaeda elements, all the Daesh elements, all the ISIS elements. So those were all hardcore militants that were trapped inside Idlib, and they were now in control of the whole of Syria, and they had no means or no will to stop Israel from bombing down all Syrian assets. And at the same time, we saw that President Joseph Aoun was elected, a US-backed ex-military general of Lebanon was elected as a president, and all of a sudden it seemed that the things had been turned very good, perfect for Israel. And for some while, analysts all over the world were surprised why Bashar al-Assad all of a sudden had to leave. Why would Iran take away its backing from Bashar al-Assad? Why would Russia take away their backing from Bashar al-Assad? And all of a sudden, in the span of a week or so, Bashar al-Assad's whole struggle for Syria would just end, in a wishy, and at that time, many analysts were saying that this seems to be an under-the-table deal with Israel, that, okay, we will let Bashar al-Assad go, and we will have Hezbollah put down their weapons, and in return, what you're going to do is you are going to end the war in Gaza. And the time from that time and to the ceasefire of Gaza, it was really, really very very anxious time for the people of Gaza, for the whole Muslim Ummah, because we were thinking that there has been maybe no deal, or maybe whatever was understood between the Arabs, between Iran, Russia, and the West has all been betrayed, or something wrong had gone on. But eventually, at long last, now ceasefire has been declared between Israel and Gaza, and the Gazans are returning to their homes now. And you can say right now that the resistance has not failed. Hamas has not failed. Hamas is there and is intact. And even we have heard that Hamas, although they have lost a lot of fighters, but they have had much more number of recruits entering into the organization. And it's like the people of Gaza, they are actually celebrating this whole thing as a victory as they are coming back. There are visuals all over the social media. You can see people are rejoicing, they are celebrating, and it seems that they are taking this as a victory. But we can't say anything what the planning between the Trump administration and Netanyahu will be, because Trump has also said in the passing days that he wants the Gazans to be removed from Gaza. So that's a question mark now, that what is actually the plan and what are they going to do in the near future.
So yes, that's a very interesting angle that you gave about Palestine and Gaza and Syria, and how Bashar al-Assad was thrown out of Syria and the people of Gaza got their land back. And we see a lot of celebrations that are happening. People who have not been at their place, at their home place for like 2 years are now returning, and there are thousands of people coming back to Gaza. I also saw a post on social media that people in the earlier wars and in the earlier times, the people who left are now coming back after like 30 years or 20 years. So it's a great moment for the Palestinian people. But the point is that the war could have ended a long time ago. If Netanyahu's only objective was to bring the hostages back and to end the war, he could have done it a long time ago. There were the Palestinian people and the Hamas and Hezbollah were willing to offer them a deal for such a long time. But we also have to see that there was a lot of oil. Supposedly, there is a lot of oil in the shores of Gaza, which they were after, and plus they wanted to destroy the whole of Gaza, and they wanted to rebuild the Gazan land themselves with Israeli companies, which is now not possible. Muslims are going to build their own place back again by themselves. And plus, all the hostages who have been under captivity for the past 2 years know the real story, that it was not the Hamas or the Palestinian people who really wanted them to be hostages for such a long time. It was actually the other side. Netanyahu didn't want them back. And Netanyahu might also be complicit in killing some of them. We also heard that in order to save some hostages, they bombed some areas and multiple hostages died and multiple Hamas people died. So yeah, all of this was going on. Now when those people come back home, Netanyahu is going to have a really tough time. That's what I think, because it's not so hard to hide what he has been doing for 2 years continuously. And when these people open their mouth, Netanyahu might be sitting in a prison in the next few months. So yeah, this deal would have been more, while Hamas is celebrating, Netanyahu might not be celebrating at this point, and he might be counting his days. His days are very numbered. So what do you say about all these things?
You're exactly right, because last time also I mentioned the 5-finger policy or theory or whatever, the plan that Israel had of breaking down Gaza into 5 sections and separating each section with a very wide buffer zone and a corridor, which would have been like controlled totally by the Israeli military, and they were planning to keep the extreme northern part of Gaza for themselves, and it would have become a new settlement area for the Israelis. And like the Gazan, who are already like 2.2 million people stranded in this largest open air prison of the world, and they would have been squeezed to an even smaller place, and they would have been in this small, tiny, thin strip of Gaza. They would be having to go through Israeli checkposts and scrutiny in 4 or 5 places just to go across from one town to the other. And that means that they would have been like one big open air prison would be like broken down into 5 different or 4 different prisons. So the people of Gaza, they are already like going through an extreme case of genocide. Like they have restriction. They cannot leave Gaza by air or by land or by by sea. They are like totally isolated from the world community. No Gazan can leave Gaza. And this is a very extreme case of genocide and apartheid to enclose a people and to like isolate them from the world and not allow them to leave or come to their country. So all this was already happening, and now if you break them down into 4 or 5 different separate localities, what you're going to do, you are going to introduce apartheid within this small strip of Gaza, and the people they have the whole of Gaza, just like you said, has been razed to the ground. Not one building has been left standing. If Israel would have come inside and stayed there and made all those buffer zones and all those corridors that they were talking about, the people of Gaza would not have the means to even bring in a single brick back into Gaza to rebuild any of their houses. So what would have been done? That was the very extreme case of genocide and ethnic cleansing and the killing of 2.2 million people of Gaza, who I would say are in the middle of the world map. Everybody in the world in the 21st century is looking at Gaza. They know what's happening. Every day visuals are coming out of Gaza on social media platforms. And so what is humanity like going through? What is the face of humanity when such a genocide is happening in the middle of humanity like this? So that was the thing that Netanyahu was planning. And you're right, Netanyahu is that kind of a fanatical or extremist type of person who was dreaming the dream of greater Israel, and the whole of his extreme right cabinet members and all those parties that he has coalitions with, all of them were extreme far right parties, and they were all dreaming this dream of maybe taking some part of Lebanon, some part of Syria, some part of Jordan, and going across to the Euphrates River from this end and going towards the Nile River on this side. And all these speculations were being pronounced in different media outlets. And this is really a setback for Israel, that eventually Netanyahu had to sign that ceasefire. But having said that, I would also like to remind you that in the last tenure when Trump was here, he was complicit with Netanyahu in jotting down the Deal of the Century program. And the Deal of the Century meant that in the last tenure when Trump was here, he was complicit with Netanyahu in jotting down, and the whole of Palestine would become a total complete Israel. And that deal of the century was denounced by Palestinians as the slap of the century, and they said that this will never happen, and we will not go in. And they offered billions of dollars to them, to the Palestinian Authority and all the elite of Palestine, that we are going to give you so much and you just let us do all this now. But now, with all this resistance from Hezbollah, because Hezbollah had shown a great resistance, a very strong resistance. If there was not this Lebanon-Israel deal or ceasefire, Hezbollah would still be giving hell to Israel. And Hamas itself has given such a tremendous resistance that it is unimaginable. Israel army, which was laced with weapons and funds and good food and whatnot, and all types of tanks and helicopters and attack weaponry. Still, the Israeli defense minister would come out and say that our army is tired, we want to come back, we want a break. They were saying things like that. And Hamas, who had, nothing except homemade artillery and missiles, they kept standing. And they never said that they were tired. They never said that they want to stop the war. And they never said that we are going to give you back the hostages without our own terms. So if you look at it that way, Hamas has definitely won this war.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's a very interesting take on all the subject. And I also do think that the clear winner in this war is the Gazans, although they have lost a lot of people. And the loss of life is never good, and the infrastructure that they have to rebuild. It's like billions and billions of dollars they have to spend to build their houses and the infrastructure and the whole city again. So all our prayers are with the Palestinian people and with all the people who can help them rebuild their city. And we hope that they get back to their lives as soon as possible, maybe within the next 6 months or a year. But things are not that straightforward right now. And we need to really see for a week or two or a month or two what the real game is happening behind the scenes. Because sometimes things seem, on the face they seem all right, but there's something going behind the back doors, and there's people making deals behind back doors. So yeah, and coming back to Trump and America, recently Trump announced that there was an emergency in America, and he was going to catch all these illegal immigrants that are in America, and he was going to deport them. And as soon as he was inaugurated a few days ago, he started all these raids. I think they're called the ICE raids, and they're kicking out all the illegal people. So question is that America, with all its might and its army and its bombs and everything and its air force, can't protect its own borders, while they are trying to protect borders halfway across the world. And there's a huge immigration problem, and there's a huge illegal immigration problem. So taking in consideration that millions of people just came on foot to America, America cannot sustain so many people. They are already at a really tight spot with spending so much money on the Ukraine war, and with their overall government spending, which is around $14 trillion. So if you're pouring millions and millions of people, illegal people, in the country, now you have a much bigger problem. So the Biden administration, we even recently saw Selena Gomez, who's a singer. She was crying that they're deporting my people, they're after my people. And all these leftist liberals thought that they want to protect all these illegal people, and these are also people, and we should be a little bit humanitarian. But some of these people might be really dangerous, like all the people who were in Colombian prison. The Colombian government might have dumped them into America. They just said, you're free, go to America and do whatever you want over there. So they might be really dangerous people. On the other hand, this might be also a little bit racist, that you have to really kick some people out according to their ethnicity or their nationality. So the point is that all these liberal people would pretend that Black Lives Matter. But if someone would come up to them and ask that there's a homeless a black Mexican man, and he wants a house, and would you take him in to your own house? And all these protesters would literally say no. It's like they do believe in something, but they don't want to do it themselves. But then they have a lot of power in the government. So through government, through some resources that they have, they were achieving their aim of keeping those illegal people in their country. And there was a very bad situation on the border. So now with Trump in, and he is also protecting the border now. He's putting more force on the border where people want to cross and come to America. And plus, the illegal people are already in America. He's catching them every day on a very large scale, and he's now deporting them. So, what do you think about the situation in America?
Well, of course, illegal immigrants should not be allowed. It's a crime. You cannot break the law of a country and enter in that country without the consent or the permission of the government. So that is a big issue. The question is that why has the US allowed all this illegal immigration in their country for so many years? I mean, decades and decades. And it's like so many of the immigrants that will have to be removed from the country are maybe staying there for 10, like for 2 generations maybe. And those people now think that they are like part of the USA. And but there's another aspect in this thing, that why these people have been allowed inside the country in the first place. Definitely because they were a cheap labor, and the US, the rich people of the United States wanted this cheap labor, and they used them for their purpose. But now, of course, the burden of the immigrants is becoming heavier and heavier, and it's like high time that in Pakistan also we have these Afghan migrants that have come pour into Pakistan because of the 2 wars that the country has faced. And now these Afghanis, their second generations and third generations have also like become young adults now. And it is a big burden for the country. And recently, last year I think, the government announced that the Afghanis, now the wars are over now, and the Afghanis should start leaving the country and going back to their homes. But here in the US, the borders were opened, I think, deliberately because the people wanted, the government wanted cheap labor to enter the country. And I think it's not something that we can like put a finger on, because if the US government decides to get rid of illegal immigrants, they have all the right to do that. So that's the thing. But going towards what Trump is up to, it's not all the good things. There are also some very dangerous things that Trump might be thinking of. He is proving to be a real far-right conservative by continually talking about religion, about God. That's a good thing in my view. But he has also done something that would irk the US people, especially the liberals, that he is saying that from this day onwards, there are going to be only 2 genders in the US. A male and a female gender, and there's going to be no place for all those other alphabets that had propped up, and the alphabets, the alphabet soup was getting thicker and thicker. So this is another battle that Trump and his administration will have to fight, because not only the people in US are going to be against Trump on this, but the whole of Europe is going to be against Trump on this, and that is going to be a very big battle for him. And apart from that, the things about tariffs, that is a dangerous game he's going to play, because what he said just today in his speech, he said that we are going to put so much tariffs on all the countries doing trade with us, that only this tariff money is going to be so huge that all the people of America are going to become rich again. I mean, this formula is something that I don't understand how it's going to be possible. Maybe you can tell me something about how tariffs can make America great again.
He's supposed to be the tariff king, the tariff president. And he's talking about that the glory days of America have started, and there's going to be a huge shift in all the economic and social and political policies. And he's going to crush the CIA. And these are all very big things to say, but they're not that easy to achieve. So with the tariffs, the point being that America because of its financial system, the dollar system is like a very fruitful nation. There's a lot of there's disparity between the living standards of the third world nations and America, and there's also disparity in the amount of earnings that people have over there and in a third world country. So obviously the immigration crisis is also because all of the world is burning and no one has nothing to eat, while America has everything in surplus. Even though when we really see deep down, the people in America are also suffering a lot. Maybe there's a bunch of elite people sitting in some cozy place and they're enjoying the fruit and they're so rich that they're richer than nations, and they're so powerful that they're more powerful than all the people combined in the whole world. But the point is that people want to go to America because America is a place where you can live life in abundance. Americans have to work less, and then they earn more money, and the Americans consume the most because they get the most amount of debt. A very interesting thing you could say that if like a 18-year-old kid who is living in his parents' house and who has earned nothing in his life, and he's not interested about earning anything, but he just wants a PlayStation which might cost like $500 or $600 or $1,000, whatever he wants. He can simply get a loan from the bank if he has account, and he can buy that thing. So the banks of America, like the big banks like JP Morgan and all these big banks, would have more trust in this little kid than they would have in a lot of people who really desperately need that money and who could really return. So yeah, that's the point. And that's why the tariffs with China could work for America in the short run. Because if they put tariffs, now the biggest consumer of all the production that is going around in the world is America. And I think China is very close by because they now have a very big middle class. I guess China's middle class might be bigger than America's middle class because the number is also population-wise. But the point is that China is making a lot of money selling to its own middle class, but it's also making a lot of money selling to America. And as long as there's the dollar system is up and running, America could bully its way to a system where they could put more tariffs in. Now,
but China, via its Belt and Road policy and projects, and the BRICS, the BRICS is expanding. So many countries have already entered this BRICS platform. And what they're doing is that they are finding markets all over the world now. Like, they don't want to sell all their high-tech things to America. They know that America is going to sanctions them or bully them with their financial institutions and instruments. So they are finding markets in Russia, in Africa, in the Central Asia, and all in the all over the world. Like, even China wanted to penetrate inside Europe and build its BRI projects inside Europe. But of course, the sanctions regime has stopped them from doing that. But what I'm trying to say is that China and Russia and other countries that have been hit so hard by sanctions are finding and making new ways, new platforms, new markets for their own goods, and they are finding ways to counter those sanction regimes and to still be able to do business, even though the U.S.
But
is not.
people want to trade in the dollar system. That's the point. They told the Saudi Arabia said that the 100-year deal with the petrodollar is over, but now they might not be directly exchanging their money in terms of dollars. They might not be selling petrol and taking dollars, but what they are taking or buying is US treasuries against those dollars. So it's one and the same thing. The point is that I think it was Larry Fink, and he was in an interview, and he said, the interviewer asked him, what is too big? And he answered that we are so big because we finance the government of America. We finance nations. We do trillions of dollars of trade. We finance trillions of dollars daily. So we have to be big. So the point is that even though Russia actually benefited a lot from the sanctions because of the sanctions, Russia sold its gas and oil at a premium price, and they actually made more money if they were not to be sanctioned. And on the other hand, Germany and Europe has suffered a lot because they have got no energy.
Even China, they have put their money, because they had such a big surplus of money, they have put their own money into research and innovation, and they are making all those chips and all those semiconductors or things inside China now. All the things that they had been buying from Taiwan, from Netherlands, or maybe other places of the world, they are now, because of the fear of sanctions, they are making this whole chain. It was a supply chain that was like spread all over the world map. But now China, because of the fear of these sanctions, is bringing the whole supply chain into China. So that will make China more independent and fearless of the sanctions and whatever tricks the US wants to play on them. And the question in my mind, which comes in my mind, is that the US itself has something like $35 trillion debt on its own country, on its own people. And how is this tariff thing going to save them from that situation? I mean, how long can they play this game of lending themselves from the central bank, lending themselves trillions of more dollars every year, and then just go away with the thing? How is this system working anyways?
Because it's not as simple as it seems on the front. China now has around $8 billion. America owes China $8 billion. And what does China have is $8 billion worth of treasuries. How much interest is there on an $800 billion treasury? That's a lot of money. So actually, if you could put it in other words, you could say that America is building the Chinese army, the Red Army, because of the interest that they are giving them. So it's not that China is not benefiting. It's rather that even if China and Saudi Arabia want to do their trade, they would rather do it in dollars or the USA system rather than doing it on their own currencies. China doesn't trust Saudi Arabia. Russia doesn't trust China. They don't trust each other at all.
They don't trust those their currencies, actually, because the currency could be like unusable in so many certain places. That is correct, that they need the dollar because it's a guarantee, a trustworthy thing right now in the market. But what I'm saying is that this capitalist, a system has come to that edge, that peak, from which the next step is a downfall. What I'm thinking is, because just like you said now, that inside the US there is such a huge disparity, income disparity, that like one person, Elon Musk, has $400 to $500 billion of assets, one individual. And so if one individual has so much money, that means automatically you can think that there is a huge income disparity in that country. So how would the people be happy, or how would you think that this system can sustain for such a long time?
So I think that it's not a long-term strategy that you just put on tariffs and your economy is going to start working again. But in the short run, it's a very good choice to put tariffs on the Chinese goods. It's actually one would ask that if America puts tariffs on the Chinese goods, Chinese are not making money on those tariffs, but rather the Americans would get those things at a higher premium. Let's suppose that there's a BYD car, electric car, that they could import from China, which would be half the price of an American-made Tesla. But the point is that with those tariffs, when Trump puts those tariffs, that BYD, which was originally half the price, could end up being double the price when it reaches America. So American consumers are not having the benefit. But the point is that they're earning through tariffs. What if the person really wants the BYD car at his house? So they're going to earn from tariffs if people really want that thing. And then people in America would start building their own industry when they think that they can be competitive. The point also is that Americans are a bit lazy and they are less in number and they have inferior infrastructure. And they don't have all those facilities, all those number of people that China has. Now, their jobs like, I heard this in a YouTube video some while ago, tooling engineer or something. So if you go to America, you won't even find a single tooling, you would find like 10, 15 tooling engineers in like a city or a town. But if you go to China, you could find thousands of them. So things like that. So China, if Americans feel like that they can compete in the international market when there are all these tariffs in, so their industry is protected. So with the 100 executive orders that Trump has signed in his first few days in the office, he is pouring in billions and billions of dollars of investment in the AI field, in all these fields. Something like he said that the time he came to office in like 24 hours or 2 days or 3 days, in that time he collected $1 trillion of investments. And he was pretty sure that by the end of the week he would have like $7 trillion worth of investments. So they're going to put sanctions on all these goods and items, and they're going to start a tariff war, a trade war with all the countries. Europe might be the biggest loser, not even China. But on the other hand, they're also trying to rebuild and reimagine their industries. But still, with all this talk that Trump was doing, we recently had DeepSeek AI, which is a very interesting topic that we should discuss. So OpenAI took like several $1 billion and a lot of time to make ChatGPT. And the DeepSeek has only 200 employees and a budget of $6 million. And they have inferior chips that they're running their algorithm on. And they, on the day of inauguration or a day after, they announced that they had DeepSeek AI, and all the stock market crashed, and the Nvidia fell $600 billion in a matter of few hours, and it's the biggest stock market crash ever of any stock recorded all over history. So DeepSeek AI is an interesting thing, and plus the S&P, because NVIDIA is front-running the S&P also fell. And because S&P fell, there was a panic worldwide and the investors started selling. This could be like a blip because we see the S&P returning again after a day, not NVIDIA returning. But how do you think about the Chinese technology and with the DeepSeek AI, do you think that China could outcompete America in AI?
Well, China is, I think, already trying to make those nano chips that were previously being made in Taiwan. They are developing their own semiconductor industry. And this AI thing, this is emerging type of technology, and anything can happen. Like DeepSeek has actually surprised everybody that all the data that took so many years to accumulate for these large language models, like the AI is an emerging technology, and anything can happen. I mean, you can't predict what's really going to happen, how this AI market is going to open in this new coming future. So what DeepSeek did was, I think, it took all the information that are already been loaded in these large language models like GPT and others, and what it did, that all that information that it took so many years and so much money to accumulate and fix in those language models, DeepSeek just took their mirror image and they put it in their own system. So this is something that was unforeseen, unpredicted, and nobody in the US or in the Silicon Valley was thinking that any other company would come and do such a kind of stunt. And it was a successful stunt. And if something like this can happen, I mean, the computer and the artificial intelligence, it is got so many possibilities. Any other abruptive move can come into the market, and things can change. So it's really going to be a big competitive market, and the US, already Trump has said that we should get prepared for things like that, and we should be ready for such surprises. And yes, China can compete. They are very innovative. They are proving to be research oriented, innovative, and they are tireless people. They want to do things. And that's, I think, a cultural difference between the people of living in the US and people living in China. And the other significant thing, that the citizens of the United States, they are highly paid people. And again, if Trump wants to re-establish or restart industry in his own country, how is he going to pay his people all that high labor, while China is paying such a low cost for its industry? So all these things are not so, they're easy to say, but it's not easy to accomplish goals like this. Takes generations.
Because China has more people, it also has more students in AI. And there's this interesting fact that a lot of students who are studying AI in America are Chinese students. And eventually they will go back to China and work on AI within China rather than with America. And yes, the Chinese culture and the Chinese work ethic might be much better than the American. They want to work much more hours, and they're more focused on all their tasks. And China, a few years ago, America wasn't that bothered with China, because China could not make this leap that it could attack Google, or it could attack OpenAI, or it could be an industry leader. But now with models like DeepSeek AI, we figure out that, hey, America is not that special. If China could do it in not even half, not even quarter, like 0.06% of the cost, and time, 2 months or 2 years, they might have not cloned it. They might have made it from scratch. Because you got to understand that once a thing is made, a technology, yes, some software that was back there in 2001 or 2 would be still difficult to make. But with the technology that we have right now, a small group of people could even do that. So the point is that maybe Americans are not that special. Maybe they take billions of dollars, and they have these fancy offices, and they just sit around and do nothing. The point is that they actually have those billions of dollars to invest, because of their venture capitals and their banking system, and how privileged they are. And while we might have like not 200 to 20 million people in Pakistan who might be AI experts or something, but we don't have money to even hire a team of 200, 300 people. That's the problem. And people, the same things that those people are doing over there, people, if you put some trust in people around the world, people could do it in a less amount of money, and they could do it with less resources. If you put some trust in people from other countries, I guess that they could do it in much less cost, and they could do it more efficiently with less labor, with less time. So yeah, that is a point that America is now scared of. Now finally we see that America is no space special, and other countries, they're learning and they're adapting, and now the difference between technology is not that much between America and other nations, and the world is becoming a global village. So America might not have that edge, and Google and all these big organizations might not have a big edge for a very long time. When AI is helping a single person do what 100 people could do before, so what's the problem? Why do you need such big companies and organizations now? So yeah, that's the point.
I think it's like instead of making America great, we should concentrate on making humanity great again, because AI is something that is going to benefit the whole of humanity, or it could destroy the whole of humanity if all those AI tools are captured by powerful elites and controlled by them. That would make situation very difficult for the whole of humanity. So it's not a question about the US glory, it's about the fate and future of humanity now. And I think we should have another program on AI also, because that's again a very interesting topic.
You raised a very well point, and AI is a double-edged sword. And yes, in the next podcast, we could do a nice little discussion about AI and how it could destroy or make humanity, or how it could truly transform the way we live. And it was really nice having you today, and we had a really wonderful podcast. So viewers, that was a really amazing podcast. To all our viewers, I wish you the very best, and hope to see you on another amazing podcast very soon. Peace out. Bye bye.